different accounts can have the same dimension set up, but with different dimension values. We'll look at how default dimension priorities can be utilized to handle this. For example, a sales order makes use of a customer and an item. So if these both have conflicting default dimensions, Business Central applies a set of rules to determine what happens when we enter default dimensions and dimension values on documents and journals. And these rules are also impacted by whether there are default dimension priorities set up. So if there are no default dimension priorities set, the default dimension values of the last account entered on the document will take priority over any default dimension that has been entered by any previous accounts. So if we had a sales order that we enter the customer details for, the customer's default dimensions would be overwritten by the default dimensions of an item that was entered into the order. When a conflict exists between the values set up on a specific account and values on that account's account table, like between an individual customer account and the customer table, the default dimension value of the individual account will take priority over the account type. The justification for this priority is that default dimensions set on an individual account are often assigned for a specific purpose. When default dimension priorities are set up, the dimension values of the account that has the highest priority are used on the document or journal. So if we have a conflict between a vendor and a GL account, and the GL account has been set with the higher priority, then the GL account's default dimensions will be utilized over the vendor. If two accounts are the same priority, then Business Central will revert to the standard method of using whichever account was entered last. So let's have a look at setting up a dimension priority. If we search for default dimension priorities and go to the relevant page, we can see the default dimension priorities page open. I'll just expand this very quickly. And typically when we create sales documents, an item's default dimension will take priority over a customer's, as it's the last thing we enter on the document. To change this so that the customer has priority, we can enter in our table ID the table for customer, which I know in this case is table 18, and we can set them with a priority of 1. We'll also enter the table ID for table 13, which is our salesperson purchaser table, and we'll set that with a priority of 1 as well. We've given both the customer and the salesperson purchaser a priority of 1, as they're both filled in on the header of the sales order. On the next line, we'll enter table 15 for our GL account, and we'll set that with a priority of 2. And table 27, which is our item table, and we'll set that also with a priority of 2. These two we've given a priority of 2 because they're filled in on the sales lines after the customer. If we set up 2 tables with the same priority for the same source code, Business Central will select the table with the lowest table ID. With this setup, we can close this to commit our changes and move on.